All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the BIPOC LGBTQ Happy Hour. Thank you for coming out. The BIPOC is Black, Indigenous, people of color, and this is a happy hour designed for everybody to sit and chill, have a discussion, and go from there. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Can't complain.
Oh,
It's
good.
hump day. It's hump day, everybody.
It sure is.
It's hump day.
That's funny because okay, you know what? This is not even a conversation for this. But okay, yes, it is Hump Day.
Must agree on that one. So today's conversation is gonna be pretty light. What we got going on, brother Dennis?
Um, today's conversation. I
That's what we got.
don't know because I mean I think that it's about can we change? Is it if we are one way today and we decide tomorrow we would be something different? Is that okay? And do we believe that person once they do that changing of what they really were to what they really want to be? I asked that because last year we all voted. I don't know who you voted for, but we all voted for who we voted for. This year, I hear a lot of people saying that I don't want to vote for the same person I voted for last year. I want some change. Are they really changing their minds or their decisions on what they decided last year? Or are they just upset with what's going on?
Well, I was in a meeting this morning, and that very real question came up. A guy had once upon a time been a Trump supporter, and somewhere in recent months he's had an epiphany, and now he wants to support the Democratic Party and some of the things that go along with the Democratic Party. Is that something you can trust? Can someone actually change their way? Can they evolve in their way of thinking? Let's do the word. Can they change? Let's do people evolve?
Into what though? I mean,
A different being.
well, what made you decide in the first place this was a better person and you knew some of the senses that now all of a sudden he reveals who he really is, and now you say you can take him serious. What's the difference before and after? He haven't done nothing he didn't say he was in the beginning. So now that you find out that he really is who he say he is, now all of a sudden it's worse. If I tell you something, who I am, believe me.
Well, not everybody goes with that. We'll take our president now. Just because he said it, there's always a translator to say, well, he didn't really mean it that way.
I'm not understanding how
But
that.
again, but again, if I, like I said, if I was a Trump supporter and I went home and had a conversation with a stranger or even myself and had this epiphany, I've been following the wrong path. I just woke, all of a sudden my eyes are clear and I can see. Is it possible for one to change?
That's
I,
good.
Yeah,
I,
but it all depends on it all depends on what the person's doing or what the person's goals and objectives are in life. If they
Well,
don't have no goals and objectives in life, then they're in insanity.
well, I'm a Trump supporter. I woke up and I decided Donald Trump is not doing what I thought he was going to do. Uh, he didn't build a wall like I wanted. He didn't at least kill 5 or 6 babies like I wanted him to do. So I'm not going to vote for him again. I'm not going to vote for him again. I don't believe what he did. He didn't tell me the truth. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. I'm a new changed person. Now I'm going to be totally against him and do everything in my power to get rid of him. Have I really changed?
So I think people can evolve, their viewpoints and perspectives on things. When I moved to Minnesota, I moved here from Mississippi, and I had like a culture shock. There's a lot of white people here, and that wasn't the case where I'm from. And, you know, there were things I wasn't called a nigger in my face until I moved here. Um, and I joined like the 5 percenters, you know what I'm saying? And thought white people were devils. and didn't really fuck with them when I, first moved here like that. And so I've evolved because I've had no choice living in Minnesota but to engage and interact with white people because the state's like 75%, 80% white.
You have to
Uh,
adapt.
so, in having interactions and building relationships with folks, I've learned not all white people are devils. There are some evil folks still. But I've changed my viewpoint. Um, and so I think people can change.
Well, we'll take it down. Well, my cousin just got out of the pen. He used to beat old ladies up and take their money. I'm just using this fictitiously. Don't want anybody to think that this is true. But he used to beat up people and rob people on the street. He went to jail and found Jesus. Now he done been out. He been home for the last 2 years. He ain't been working. He ain't done nothing that we've all seen. But he said he's changed. He's evolved. I've become a better person. Nobody's
Have
really
you have
seen it. Nobody's really seen it, but that's what it said.
okay? Like I just told, like okay, I just had this conversation about what an hour or so ago, and I just had this conversation an hour or so ago. Okay, actions speak louder than words. So if you can't see it for yourself and it's coming out of their mouth, either you're gonna go to, well, are they telling the truth, or are they trying to pull our leg? Now it's up to the person to try to prove to y'all that this is what he is really talking about. Like he is wanting to change, because I mean I know a lot of people right now that is literally insanity.
Can I ask a question? Is it different if you say in politics and in real life? Because those are two different things, real life and politics. Because if you can change politics, you can change your parties anytime you want to, and there is no equivocation. But if you change who you are as a person, then they want to beat you. So in politics, is it okay that you can change from Democrat to Republican and not be penalized and be able to accept that rule? That's okay? Or is it something that you have to do just because you're upset?
What they say, if you can't beat them, join them.
I don't know. I'm looking at this as like,
What's up, Kevin?
Hey,
being able to change or being able to understand that change is one thing, but actually saying that if you decided on being a Republican, all of a sudden you don't like a certain situation, all of a sudden you want to change, is that real or is that just for now?
So I don't think they're necessarily changing parties. The ones that like spoke at the DNC that said that they are Republican, but they're going to vote for Biden, they're doing what's in the best interest of our country and
Right.
not what's in the best interest of their party. Previously that's how they have been voting, but folks are realizing and looking at what has happened and transpired over the last 3.5 years. And they're saying this current iteration of this Republican Party or this candidate does not represent their values. And so
Right.
they're not voting for them. That doesn't mean they're not Republican anymore. And yeah,
Does that mean is that an evolution in a way of thinking?
I think so, because it's no longer just I'm going to stick to my party stance and that's it. Fuck what's for the greater good.
Okay. So everybody's got to be able to open up their mind at least.
Right. I think that with this last election, a lot of the Trump's thing was he wanted to really politicize everything and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of galvanize the strength behind the people that are unheard. They haven't, their needs haven't been met this whole time. He's really operating off of people's fears. You know what I'm saying? And people's prejudices and the bigotry and all that kind of stuff like that. And so I think the Republican Party was behind him in the beginning because he did represent like this solid win for them, because their whole thing was they wanted to get that house back out of the hands of the Democrats, right? So to them, it was about parties. But now, after, you know, this last 4 years, after he has done, I mean, unspeakably disloyal and Benedict Arnold type shit to people that were like his people, even, you know what I mean? A lot of them can't see themselves aligning with him because at the end of the day, it did come to the detriment of the country as a whole. And it's making it harder for them to get their agendas and stuff pushed forward because of the divisiveness, because of, you know, none of that bipartisan stuff. None of that's been happening this whole 4 years. And so if this means that, okay, if we get behind Biden, if we get behind, you know, Kamala, we can, you know, kind of change stuff and get things just better, you know what I mean? Because they're seeing where politics, I mean, where Trump's politics have just hurt them, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, yeah, just like Simon said, they're about the best interest of the country right now. And just like he's jumped ship on so many of them, they're willing now to take that same type of chance, you know what I'm saying, and jump ship on him. And it's not about the party shit, you know what I mean? Even though every single thing that you hear out there is always they say the liberals, or, you know, they're quick to say liberals and progressives, it's their fault, and those Democrats, they always make it about the party. But it's like, no, dude, this is about our country. This is about the morals that we say that we're founded on and the things that we're supposed to uphold. And then how it looks towards the rest of the world, because we've always been big brother, you know what I mean? The perfect ones, the ones that got all the money, the wealth, this opportunity. But, you know, people are now seeing this totally flipped, you know, side of it. It's like the, what they call that on Stranger Things. I don't know if any of y'all watch Stranger Things. It's called the never more, or the something, the undervalley, whatever. But it's like, you know, the alternative universe. It does not represent America and what we claim that we are. And so, you know, these motherfuckers, I think they want to see their country, you know, kind of get back to some sort of normalcy. And it's not going to happen under his leadership. It never will happen.
So can we change? That's the question. You think he can change? We can give him 4 more years to prove himself?
What you mean, and become like a decent person?
I mean, that's the question. Can we change? You think Donald Trump can serve another 4 years? He can change this time.
I mean, in theory, yeah. You know, theoretically he could, but practically, I mean, and like realistically and practically, no, he's not. You know what I mean?
Can you change?
Want to? You
Can
have
I change?
to, and you have to be open. Didn't we just say that?
Right.
I think
Right.
you have to be open to it.
Yep.
He's open. He's pretty
At all.
strong on his stance on things.
Right. Even at the detriment of his country. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, he wants his money, he wants his people paid. Those are his objectives. Now, who is or isn't his people? That's the subjective part. You know what I'm saying? And they're
That's
there
pretty
one
much-
minute and gone the next. You know.
But that's the conversation. Those people that are on the fringe, are those people able to evolve in their way of thinking?
I think some of them can.
And take it in a different direction. You know, even though, just like you said, most people are now thinking about the benefit of our country.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
People
does that translate in? Does that really translate
Let's reverse the question. What if we had to decide if we wanted to become Democrat or Republican? Can we change to be Republican and think they can save us more than Democrats? I mean, do we have an ability to think about that? Like, maybe the Republicans are our saviors now.
You know what though? Again, it's about what they demonstrate and how they, you know, do policy. The policy is what dictates the answer to that question.
I think it's tax bracket.
Well, and I think that a lot of people go by that, you know, but some Republicans are able to look beyond the tax bracket shit, you know what I'm saying? Just like we were saying, and put that shit aside in order to do shit for the betterment of the country. Now, if theoretically, you could ask me, would I be able to change? Yes, I believe in the stages of change. I'm a person in recovery. You understand what I'm saying? So I live and breathe that shit every day. I do give everybody that benefit of the doubt to know that they can change now, but it has something that it really is all on them and their willingness and the effort that they put forth.
Hey, we would say it's a bleeding heart, Kevin.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
A bleeding heart. That's why we had, wear hearts on us.
Yeah, we do. Well, and a lot of, and I think too, just that historical part about the Democrats being, way back in the day, being the people that actually throwing us under the bus, and more black people being under, Republican, the Republican. We had different stuff like Black Wall Street at the time, and you know what I'm saying. Our interests were in a different place, but now those things have been flipped, and so I think that we all need to start thinking about stepping away from just the whole two-party dichotomy, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing, that every election cycle, these activists and these so-called, the people that are Bernie bros and the people that are yeah, I can't vote for Biden because, prison, Kamala is her thing on prison, whatever. You had 4 years to change the whole fact that we got a two-party system. Now, y'all been barking up the wrong tree this whole time because y'all have been, again, falling for the divisiveness and just saying, okay, well, let me get behind my candidate. And so instead of trying to, see what we could do in order to systemically or structurally change this, you played right back into the same hand that you always played into. And now 4 years has gone past. You did all that rah, and we still are down to people that are picked for us, you know what I'm saying, essentially, and then us still having to make that choice, okay, which the lesser of two evils. So all the motherfuckers that's on that shit, it's like, nah, we need y'all to sit down as well and really think hard about, the impact of your activism and what it's rooted in, you know what I mean? And are you just doing this to feel good?
I think we lost Kevin. Kevin, you on mute.
You muted. Come on back and finish.
You muted, Kevin.
Mute yourself.
He got too excited. Ray, you muted too.
Got so excited he muted himself.
You did too.
I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that he's worthy of giving another chance?
Yeah.
I'm not going to rush to judgment. I'm going to let other people on the panel answer that question before I do.
I think anybody is worthy of a second chance. If I said no, then I wouldn't have, thousands of the rest of people would be asked out. So I got to say, in that regard, everyone is supposed, that's the whole question tonight. Do we give a person a second chance on something? And how does that look? Is it fair that we're giving this man only one term? Should we give him 2 terms to see what he can do? Maybe he turn around. Maybe he won't. Maybe he's going to be a better asshole in the future. We don't know. So, I don't have an answer to the question. I don't want to suffer underneath that fact that he may or may not do what he said he's going to do. So if I can get somebody else in there now, it'd be different for me to do that. But just to suffer under his tyranny, again, I don't want that. I don't want to take a chance on him saying, I'm going to do this, and he don't. And I can't deal with 4 more years of that.
That's a fair.
So I think we've given them several chances. So when he ran, he was all crazy, talking about Obama. President Obama wasn't born here. He had a chance to apologize for that. Didn't. I think he talked a lot about Mexican immigrants. He was saying things. He had an opportunity once he became president to sort of be the president of everybody, and he, didn't do anything about that. Folks have, constantly been advocating for him to change his policies around, again, what they're doing to immigrants that they are detaining and separating children. I feel like we've given him several chances over the last 3.5 years, because I'm a second chance proponent too. You know what I'm saying? I feel like everybody deserves a second chance. He's had several, I think, to
sometimes 3 and 4 chances.
Kind of govern from a place of the middle. I ain't even saying go all the way to the left, but can we go to the middle? You know what I'm saying? He's been more still, I think, to one side and that's like I said, open to changing his stance on some certain policies. So I don't know.
That's fair too. Thank you.
But what if he gets on board with doing some things that we want? Legalizing marijuana maybe. Or, we put enough
So is
some
the
of the
other side.
police.
The other side's going to legalize marijuana too.
But I'm saying, some of the things he can do to help people of color, maybe. What if he decided I'm going to all of a sudden change policies and like that?
So there was an article that we discussed on the Wake and Bake a few days ago. He actually doesn't want marijuana to be discussed because then Republicans lose the elections. So just, he wouldn't be helpful to us because he doesn't want to turn out our voters. Because he thinks our voters are going to vote Democratic.
Because our Democrats want to smoke weed.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just was making sure where we were going with that. That's some stuff. And what article do you remember where that article was?
I can get it from Dave. It was posted in one of the Wake and Bakes, but yeah, he was telling them, don't be putting it on the ballot. Don't, it's not their issue. Because it turns out they think the wrong type of voter for them.
How does that work?
What do you mean?
So how do you keep it off the ballot, or if the state want to do that? How does?
So each state has different laws, and so like here, we can't put it on the ballot as voters. It has to go through the legislature in order for us to be able to vote on it, like they did with voter ID and the marriage amendment. So there's not much we can do here as far as putting something on the ballot, but that's how Michigan got it. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask one more question, not to interrupt you. So the marriage amendment was that thing that we did with the gay people, right? You saying like they were the same sex? Huh?
Yeah, the vote no.
So you're saying the same thing can happen with marijuana?
Yes.
If we want to do that. And why did the gay one pass before the marijuana one?
Well, white gay men seem to get their issues addressed before everybody else.
Well, I'm gay, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, if that's the case, we can get marriage. I mean, we've been dealing with marijuana a lot longer since prohibition, and we can't get that changed. And just came up, same-sex thing. I don't understand how they beat us. How did that work? I mean, how did they beat us to the punch?
Wrong color.
I think it was who has that influence to get their issues addressed. HRC, other organizations like that, they have paid lobbyists. These folks have built relationships in the legislature. They were able to, I think, build some smart coalitions. But, quite frankly, people of color were not the face of that campaign.
Right.
Very true.
So I'm thinking because it was an issue that who the issue was impacting most, which was gay and lesbian white people. I'm not saying people of color that are gay or lesbian didn't want to get married. It's not like a big issue for them. But as a person who worked on the campaign, that was just my perspective.
Well, I understand that issue, police brutality or something like that I can deal with. But I'm just saying if it takes the same initiative to get marijuana on it, just like a marriage, and they know that, then somebody in both sides don't want this to happen.
Right, our state legislature. Ray Dean, who is no longer going to be in our state legislature, actually did introduce a bill in the House to put a question on the ballot to the voters. And so that was one of the marijuana bills that was introduced. But it has to pass, both the House and the Senate in order for it to become a law, or in order for it to get on the ballot.
So this change, so for all these years, this change that we asking for, I mean, is it going to come from us or the Democrats or the Republicans?
I think it's going to come from us. I think we become the deciders. Until we become the deciders and start controlling the resources, I don't think we're going to get our issues addressed in the way that we need them to be addressed.
Do you guys think that we're going to benefit if he wins?
You talking about if Donald Trump wins? If black people would benefit?
Do you think we will benefit somehow?
He's been in that 4 years, and other than the small reform he did on prison reform, he had 4 years to do something then, and we're still waiting.
Good answer.
I mean, if somebody else says something, we're now discussing, can our brains evolve enough to rehire this last hiree? And this last hiree is not passing my muster to rehire him again.
I wouldn't hire him.
It's not just up to us to hire this man. It's up to our country to come to a conscious decision on what's best for our country moving forward.
Our country has never came up with a conscious decision on anything as a collective about anything, except
especially
Barack Obama.
anything to benefit black people. Let's get that straight.
Okay.
Well, I'm on the board of Pride, and I think they made a change. I don't know what degrees, but I mean they had last weekend they had a special event, Black Excellence, to show people of color or black drag queens and other organizations that are black and raise money for them. So after 45 years, you think that change that they did to celebrate black people on Black People Weekend, was it enough to make them, conscious, or they were really going to do something? Or was it a fundraiser out of guilt? Because I think it was a good celebration to highlight people of color that weekend and what's going on. But to raise money and other things for people of color is a good thing. But on the second hand, I don't know.
Was this the first? I don't mean to cut you off, but was this a first-time experience?
Say it again?
Is this the first-time experience that they've done something for the black organizations? Was this the first time they've done it?
No, I only been on the board for a year, so I'm not quite sure.
But you've been in the city for 30 years minimum. This is the first time that they've done something for black organizations as a community.
I think they do it out of guilt.
Is what you say? They do it out of what?
This is the first time they've done something for community. I'm sorry, Nikki, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
They do some things out of guilt because they don't want no ruckus, But I've been up here 30 years, and I really ain't seen them do shit. Basically,
a lot of places.
I'm just telling you. Like it is.
I highly recommend it.
I think it was a moment of opportunity, and I think if it was anything more than that, they would have reached out to POC Pride and other organizations directly and said, how can we do this with you? Especially since it was during POC Pride weekend. So I think you have to take all those things into consideration before you make a critical analysis of it. Yes, POC Pride and other queer organizations in the Twin Cities have done stuff for people of color. But what is the cost of that to people of color? Right? And what are they marketing to do that? If you give an organization $5,000 and market $10,000 to talk about how great you are to give them $5,000, what does that really mean to the communities that you're supposed to be affecting? And so I think that might be the critical analysis question. It's not whether or not they've done anything. It's why they're doing things now, and what is the reason, what's the mechanism behind that. And yeah, people can grow, organizations can grow, they can recognize what they've done in the past, and what's the call to that. Because for the last 20 years, they haven't been listening to Black people or people of color. So what is the opportunity now? Is it just that they watch, too many people get murdered on camera, so now they're like, oh, I get it, maybe. And I think it's the same question around Donald Trump. It's like, who do you trust? Who are you going to trust? And we all know this lesson already, that we can't really rebuild shit with the master's tools. So how do we do that in a way that's for ourselves? And how do we do that with the support of organizations or corporations or other things? And I think it's about really expressing what our needs are and what our expectations are around that, and how they can or cannot use our faces, images, data, etc.
What can I do to help? What can I do my part, Roxanne?
I mean, I think as a person of color, know those, right? You know, demand what you're worth. And I think sometimes that's really hard for us to do because we just try to pay the rent. But if we know that they're going to pay an out-of-town entertainer $50,000 to show up for Pride, and they're only going to pay artists locally $10,000, then we have to look at like what is that mechanism and why. So I think that it's like about demanding our worth. That's what I think people of color can do is demand our worth and not take anything less than that.
You guys on mute.
Huh? Oh.
Who's on mute? Did we lose Ray? Is he frozen? He's on mute too.
I'm on mute waiting on you.
No, I was listening to Roxanne and trying to figure out, like, you're so diplomatic in how you say that in what you speak. But when we're really out there trying to figure this out, I mean, if the change is what they're doing is real, how do we work with them on that real change and to manifest that real change and believe in that change that's going to happen? You're saying it's symptomatic right now, saying we accept the fact they do a little bit for us, but we got to push on. How do we build a relationship with them to make that issue of real change or real prosperity or real moving forward? So, I mean, what do we
And
really
and not having any fear.
Yeah.
And not having any fear or reprisal that they won't work with us in the future or ever again. That's not even an issue.
Well, I think it's like, you know, what Sina was talking about earlier. First of all, you have to know what are the current rules and regulations and how you move policy, because that's the system that's here right now. And then from that, then you can move inside that system. But if you don't actually know how a policy is created, if you don't know how a bill is drawn up, if you don't know how to make a resolution, then you can't move that system, because the system is created so that if you don't know the rules, you don't have power. And so I think, a lot of us have to, gain more knowledge and, understand the things that Sina was talking about, like who actually moves policy, who has the power, what city does it what way, because Minneapolis operates very differently than St. Paul, right? And so we have to understand those systems before you can actually change them, eradicate them, even take them down. If you don't understand how they work, then you can't make them disrupt.
If we had the power to do something like that, how would that start in our community? Do people interested in that, real power you don't ask for, you take? How does that work? Powerless.
I don't think we're powerless at all. I think we actually have all the power. But first we have to actually believe that we do. And we have to come together to make those demands. We're really fractured. People of color communities are very fractured. And that is because the theory of divide and conquer works really well. And so if we're all separated, if we're all, north side, south side, and north side and south side aren't actually working together as people of color to demand what we need, then it's very easy to not give either side, what they need. And so I think that, part of it is stuff like this, coming together, having conversations. I think it's getting engaged with local politics and understanding how those things work and move. It's about building our networks. And then I think on the other side, I personally think it's about building our own infrastructures. right? We need to know how to grow our food. We need to know how to hunt, shoot, defend ourselves. We need to know how money works and how to use it to move our operations. And these are things that, you know, we are fractured in. And so that's what I think. It's coalition building. It's, you know, getting our shit together. It's getting your credit checked and get it, you know, together so you can buy the shit that you need. I think and those are all things about understanding your worth. And a lot of us walk around with guilt and shame and slave mentality, and some of us have, you know, white guilt and all the other stuff, right? And so I think there's this level of moving our consciousnesses so that we can be sufficient and self-sufficient, so that we can have this level of sustainability, which then creates growth. I think that's why we have so much marginalization in communities of color, because those things that stabilize communities have been removed, have been taken away. As soon as those communities grow and start to thrive and prosper, then we run a highway through it, or, you know, some other, you know, kind of federal movement to slow that growth. So I think it's really about us building our own coalitions and getting our shit together internally.
Good afternoon, Brother James. I'm sure you was wanting to get into that.
You know, I always want to get in. I was over here playing Fortnite too, though, and I saw the message.
I want to ask a question about the sports. I mean, they decided to protest. Do you think that's a good thing, or what do you think about that?
I think it's a horrible thing.
Why?
I think, well, this is the problem that we have, man. We want to get rid of white supremacy, but we haven't got a replacement program. And that's important because people need leadership. And right now, the things that are happening with the Black community are empowering the Republican vote. For instance, it's this simple. If we don't stop shooting, ASAP, the Republicans will win. Trump wins. Because he can use the fear of the fact that this Black Lives Matter, while Black lives still continue to get splattered, as a reason to not, as a reason to fearmonger amongst white folks with all the thefts and everything going up. If our people stop shooting, then our lives will immediately start to matter before the election, before the census is done. If we show a unified front right now, and we show that we recognize the severity of the things in front of us, we'll be recognized as first-class citizens. If we do not do that at these times, it means that we are partially civilized, but we're still some monkeys, and the white man got to still help us get through as the teenagers of this world until we move into another level of civilization. If us as Black people cannot get control of our own people right now, we guarantee Trump an easy walk in.
Do you see that happening?
I have a question on that one. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do we get our people to come together as one? And the ones that are out here trying to at least try to put us Black folks together, how do we try to get the other side to, to actually see this, as if we're really coming together as a whole?
I gotta
not as like bits and pieces. Well, we're over here, we're over here, but they're still over there.
This is what we have to do, because I've studied this for a while. It's good to see you, LeVar Burton, taking time off to come see us in between Star Trek and everything else you've been doing. So it is LeVar Burton, ain't it? Ain't that LeVar Burton? I thought that was okay. Anyway, the thing is,
really? My name is Preston.
Oh, okay. My bad. I thought that was LeVar Burton.
This is Preston.
Okay, how you doing, Preston? I was so
good,
excited.
Good.
I thought that was Gordy LaForge, man. I was about to come ask for your autograph. I was pumped up. But the thing about it is the way that we make the way
You can send an autograph now.
The way that we make it happen is we have to realize that if you're poor and you're struggling and you grew up with nobody loving you, then you get out the game by yourself on the backs of others. But you can get out by yourself because your struggle was so strong. But if you've had a full belly, somebody taught you how to read and write, you had love for the majority of your time, and you had a good life, you don't get out without taking everybody with you. That's it's the yin and the yang of the whole situation. If you've had a hard struggle by yourself, then you can get out off the backs of others. But if you've already had a decent life, you can't get out together. So what we have to realize is this Minneapolis, this polling point, we're all drawn to this polling point for a reason. The numerical equations of the 612 times yourself, it turns into all the numbers of divinity. I could go on that whole piece and lose some folks in the math, but the point is we're at a polling point. What we have to do is Minneapolis. All we have to do is, as Minneapolis, stop the killing right now. If we can stop the killing in Minneapolis, we can stop the killing across the country. And that's because everybody's watching us. So if we fuck this up with this election and crime doesn't go down and murders keep rising, then it shows that Minneapolis' dismantling of certain parts of the police was a failure in a democratic city, because we're the most democratic city. And if it looks like a failure, it only will embolden the Republican Party, because right now, everybody got checks. Everybody who looted sell for half price. For a third of the price. People had liquor, shit still on the street. Expensive weaves got sold for $300 weaves got sold for $25. Plus people got extra money on their unemployment. Plus people got stimulus, and then people got more food stamps.
I didn't.
Right now, if you really look at, and our economy's booming. Do you understand this dude Trump lied his way through a pandemic that was set as a chemical or a germ warfare from China? That was designed to kill. What do we sell in this country? We sell culture, y'all. We sell culture only in America. All that shit. All that.
In a house, you supposed to promise me. Sorry.
You said what?
Sorry. And in an apartment, you promised me. I just had to get off the subject just one time.
Okay. We're gonna get you together. But in that sense, the whole process, the whole part of it is we sell the American dream. So what we have to sell is that we solved it in Minneapolis. We have to sell, and how do we do that? I worked with Jeremiah. You said what? I didn't hear you. Did my thing freeze? Okay.
Are you still there?
You talking to me?
Okay, so the way we solve it is I had a video game that I'm working on with Jeremiah Ellison called PCR, Physical Conflict Resolution. What we do is we offer, it's gonna be a model of Def Jam Vendetta meets Grand Theft Auto, where we digitize all the people that are in these neighborhoods, all these gangs, cliques, because what it comes down to is, remember this, y'all, when we were younger, we thought there was only one other person with our name. We thought maybe my dad was, I was a junior, whatever. These kids can Google their name, find 50 kids with their name, and 10 of them got the nerve to look just like them. When we were younger, we got away with stuff. With this generation, they got to get caught so that people know that they're alive, because they're so inundated with how much unique they're not, through how much the music and everybody does all the same dances and all that. It's a different time than ours. So we have to give them relevance in a different realm. If we put together a video game that puts all the gangs on there, and they can get royalties for their city, as long as they don't shoot, as long as there's no violence of any sort of gun violence, they can get royalties for their presence on the game for as long as it's being made. And we'll bring back they dead homies digitally through voicemails, through pictures, through everything, and they can unlock different levels where that person shows up digitally to be at the house with them or chill with them or spit his lyrics or whatever. If we give people a different digital reality they'll stop fucking up in this one. Because people just miss their people. If we tell people we can regenerate their people and we'll give you royalties on a game called Chirac Vendetta, and y'all have a finish on Chirac. And if y'all got beef, we can set up fights. I'm talking about where the tanks, where the police and all them can put all their SWAT team, all that out to make sure it's safe for different gangs to be able to come to the space. So different people with different affiliations to the state or different people with different. We set up some Mad Max shit that we can guarantee people's safety for a prize fight. And if they have a person that fights for their team on there, it goes on the video game. We can shut all this shit down.
It sounds like the Matrix. It's not like the Matrix. It's like the Matrix. You're trying to scare us in the Matrix again. It's like the Matrix.
I'm trying to bring back people and make people sit their ass in the house.
COVID-19 done that.
No, it didn't. They're still shooting.
Well, I don't understand. I mean, shooting is another thing. How they get the guns?
They robbed the gun stores.
Well, why are they in the neighborhood only?
Let me tell you this. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Let me tell you this. You know what dude told me after they robbed the gun store? You know what he told me? He said, man, guess what? He's like, he told me, like, man, tomorrow I'm going. He's like, I seen him the next day. He had on all black. He like, hey, we going back tonight. I said, what? You going back to the gun store tonight? You think you about to re-rob it? Is you crazy? Y'all gonna get shot up. He like, you think they gonna be ready? What? Bro. My point is, if we stop the shooting, if we don't come up with a solution, we sink that ticket. If we don't sink that ticket. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, my whole other thing on that, take on that would be, I don't understand as to, and the question still goes out there. Why are we fighting each other? I still have not gotten a full answer on that. As to why, or I really honestly never gotten, the whole gang, all that shit. I never did. I just don't. I don't understand as to what do you gain from that? Like what kind of achievements or what kind of reward are you getting?
Listen, after Roots, then you did Reading Rainbow, then you went to Star Trek Next Generation. So you never had to deal with none of this. You've been rich your whole life, LeVar Burton. You know what I'm saying? So this is not your struggle. This is other people's struggle because the reason why
I'm just saying, but okay, so now
the reason why we have these beefs is because of the fact you go back to the Willie Lynch letter, you go back to, if I print the money, I know who ain't got none. We got slave owners printed on our dollar bill and it's printed on cotton. So to think we could ever get out of economic slavery with slave owners on the dollar bill that's printed on cotton, it's a spell in itself. We're under so much witchcraft and so many mystical powers and things that have been used, our own sigils and our own history being used to suppress our energy as the original Titans that got locked away by the gods. That whole story is about our struggle. And right now, with these chemtrails, all this stuff is designed to keep us dull toward us connecting our melanin to the higher realms of dark matter, man. This whole thing is all a diabolical matrix. The only thing you can do at this point is either offer people money or trick them out of that reality. Elijah Muhammad had to tell black people that white folks was the real life devil just to get them out of the mind state of worshiping white folks. That was the only way to break it because of how much we had been domesticated. We forget sometimes we were bred like pit bulls in some cases. That's what New Orleans was. That was where the sex farms and things were. The electoral colleges was based on the size of the plantations. When Bugs Bunny said, wait a cotton picking minute, who the fuck was picking cotton? This is the real reality that we're living in. The only thing that will make us change is to realize that we're all being tricked by the same institutional pieces. And it's beyond color. It's at this point, and its nationality is more important than our individuality. Because the whole world is watching us melt down, but our economy's bustling. Our economy's booming. Things are getting bought. We got to have a stance of solidarity. If the NBA players got more balls than everybody else right now, then what are we doing? Our job is to get these killings down. So the video game idea is not just an idea. We launch it in every city, and every set that incorporated and got involved in the process would get residuals off each game. That's how you solve the shit. And the reason that we're separated is because we only see our difference. Our only competition to us is us. Our only competition to us is us. We'll make things harder for ourselves just so that we don't have to go be great. And that's any mammal. That's anybody who doubts their potential. We say it, but we don't. And we have to deal with how white supremacy actually holds some of this shit together. And what pace are we using when we take away the whole model? How are we putting it back together? Because some people are not ready to be in charge of their own lives. Most people aren't. Most people, we got to think about all our black folks that thrive well in white supremacy. What will they do for this thing not to go away? There's some people who eat off of white supremacy. There's some people who are coons in white supremacy. There's some people, so my whole thing to you is like, until as a black community, we can actually be able to thank the police officers who are still working while so many cops have abandoned their duties, until we can actually say on our posts, man, I'd like to thank them officers for still coming out to our murders in our community and actually being civil with people cussing them out and all that. There's some real fucking superheroes on the street right now. But our blackness is so fragile because we don't know if we're black or we're Moors or we African of slavery, we don't, if we walk into this census splintered and we finish this census splintered and we finish this election splintered, we will move to third-class citizens because we couldn't even activate our vote and we couldn't activate the relevance of black lives really mattering. Really mattering.
Okay, so now I have a question. This is not just to him, but this is to everybody. The question is, okay, hold on, wait, I thought I had to sneeze. But okay, my question is, okay, so we all know this, what's going on and stuff like that. So now my question is, how do we get the young generation to hop aboard? Now, the reason why I'm asking that is because, the media, all of these, especially these damn songs, to be honest with you, I know I can throw at least like 3 of them out there right now. It's literally degrading, for one, our women. It's destroying this next generation that's coming up. Then on top of that, people can't.
You talking about WAP?
Hold on.
Why you have to throw? See, I was trying to say no names. I didn't say all that. All I said was I can throw 3 of them out there. Yes, that one is the biggest one.
Let me say this.
Hold on. Let me get my question.
You say,
but like for real, like the question. That's what the video game. I did say. Huh?
That's what the video game is for. That's the generation that it reaches.
I mean, the video speaks for itself.
No, I'm saying the video game that I was speaking about, called Physical Conflict Resolution. It's the video game that I spoke about is a way to get them to realize. You got to remember, there's concerts on Fortnite right now. You can watch a Travis Scott concert while you run around with an AK-47 and dance in front of the stage.
So you don't like WAP?
I'm saying. Okay, let's start here with WAP. Okay.
You talking to me?
The biggest gift that God gave to us is that women don't know how it
is. Might as well.
Okay, because don't nobody care about how wet it is if ain't no walls. I mean, this is for women to justify or whatever. This is their fantasy. Like a girl will be like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful," or something. Just because she cute don't mean she ain't crazy. Like we know, like wet ass pussy. It should be tapped, like tight ass pussy. What I'm saying, like who give a damn how wet it is?
No wall.
Wet.
Oh, no.
Huh?
Okay, but okay.
It could be like
I really think that we're missing a video.
That video is listen.
Okay, but I'm just saying. Okay, so
if you
I have
play
a
that
6-year-old daughter. Let's say I have a 6-year-old daughter.
But I see everybody that we are getting off subject at this moment. We are getting off subject, but we're close to the end of the day, people.
Right, but we got 5 minutes, so I want to know about the walk.
Don't let your baby watch.
I'd rather it be dry till I make it wet than we be good.
Hey, but how do you stop them from watching?
So this is what you do.
I want to hear the woman. I want to hear.
I went and I called Luke, Doodoo Brown. I had went and bought 12 inch. It was a remix. I was excited. I saved my allowance for that record. I brought that shit home and played it. My mama came and broke that shit. She broke that shit right there. So I mean, I'm just saying, you just gotta keep it from your kids.
Don't stop pumping. Let me tell you, Doodoo Brown.
When I was 12.
I mean, because you know, I you know, Luther Vandross, Winding,
Ray laughed like he done twerked to
Earth,
this
Wind, and
shit.
Fire. I wasn't even born when all of that stuff came out. But when I heard it, it was like there was a message being sent out there. Now the message that's being sent out there in WAP is.
Can I say this to you? There's a song. The song "I'm Single When I'm Lit" is the realest song to me in the world. Cause the concept, I'm single when I'm lit, bitch. Listen, I wasn't single when I left tonight from the crib. We was in a relationship, but then I got a few drinks in me and I started showing my dance moves, or I grabbed the microphone. So yes, bitch, I'm single when I'm lit. Once I hit that stage, once I'm lit, I'm single. We never possessed that type of language. The Temptations never was able to explain that. You just end up having to beg, like, girl, you know, I love you. You had to beg back. But the fact that I wish I had the words when I was a teenager to say, so you was just out there talking to everybody. Did you see my outfit, girl? I'm single when I'm lit, bitch. Like, what? I wish I could have told somebody something so deep. That's so fucking profound, man. I'm single when I'm lit. All of us have been single when we lit. You just never had the words for it. You done been shining way too hard, and that night was your night, and they put you on the teleprompter, and everybody was laughing at your jokes, and you was single. You was single when you was lit, guaranteed. So I get the Temptation shit, and I get Luther Vandross and all of that, man. I love all of it. But these kids, they're all one soul now. They all do the same dance at the same time. They all hit the same, yeah. I seen a whole school almost explode because all the kids started feeling the beat and the rhythm and the punchlines at the same time. And I'm talking about seeing people have to go into a full school shutdown because of how celebratory the kids had got. We went through a generation where these Negroes wouldn't even dance, just sit on the wall. All these kids, they gonna hit the whoa their own way, every one of them. Ask them to hit the whoa. Not one whoa is the same.
Well, on that note, I guess it's thank y'all for being here. Because I don't know how we're gonna get this, and I don't know if we can change. If we do this for so long, I think we think it's normal.
Yeah, as long as Sina's on here, I'm gonna always show up on here, man. Keep her on.
What up, dude?
Nikki. Oh my God. What's up, Miss Love? Roxanne. Take me to Japan. It's good.
All right.
Love y'all, man. Y'all have a good evening.
Wait, you're muted again.
I'm
muted again
when I'm lit, okay?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us at the BIPOC Cafe Hour. We will be back out again on Friday. Everybody, stay love, happiness, thanks.
Ray, was Doodoo Brown one of your favorite songs, though, for real?
I love Doodoo Brown.
I knew I could tell in your face.